Why is it that two people can sit in the exact same classroom, read the exact same book, or practice the exact same skill, yet one masters it in weeks while the other struggles for months? The common consensus tells us it comes down to natural talent, high IQ, or genetic luck. But cognitive neuroscience and behavioral psychology reveal that speed of learning has very little to do with raw intellect, and almost everything to do with information encoding efficiency. Fast learners don't necessarily have bigger brains. They simply possess a superior cognitive architecture for how they compress, structure, and retrieve data. While the average person attempts to memorize information linearly, treating their brain like a filing cabinet, rapid learners treat their mind like a dynamic network, linking new concepts to fundamental mental frameworks. Why do some minds acquire complex skills effortlessly, while others hit a plateau? What is the specific neurological strategy that allows top performers to accelerate their learning curve? Welcome back to Sigma Intelligence. Today, we are decoding why some people learn faster than others, and uncovering the exact cognitive mechanics of rapid skill acquisition. To understand fast learners, we must first look at how the average person attempts to learn, through passive input. Most people highlight textbooks, reread notes, and rewatch lectures. Cognitive science shows that passive repetition creates an illusion of competence, a psychological trap where material feels familiar, so your brain tricks you into believing you've mastered it. Fast learners operate entirely through active retrieval and cognitive friction. Instead of putting information into their brain, they force their brain to pull information out. They close the book and attempt to explain the concept from memory. They solve problems before looking at the solution. They deliberately expose themselves to the discomfort of not knowing the answer. Neurologically, every time your brain struggles to retrieve a memory, it signals to the hippocampus that the information is critical for survival. This cognitive friction triggers myelination, the process of wrapping nerve fibers in a protective fatty sheath that accelerates signal transmission in the brain. Fast learners don't avoid struggle. They systematically hunt for it. Slow learners memorize facts isolated in a vacuum. Fast learners construct interconnected schemas. A schema is a mental framework that helps your brain organize and interpret information. When a rapid learner encounters a brand new, complex topic, they don't treat it as isolated data. Instead, they immediately anchor it to something they already understand using analogy and metaphor. This is the core foundation of the Feynman technique. Deconstruct to first principles. Break the complex concept down to its most basic, undeniable components. The 12-year-old filter. Translate the concept into simple, everyday language without using industry jargon or complex terminology. Isolate and repair the gaps. The exact moment you struggle to explain a step in plain language is where your true understanding breaks down. Fast learners target that specific gap and fix it immediately. By distilling complex ideas into simple analogies, they strip away fluff and master the underlying structure, allowing them to apply the concept across multiple domains instantly. At the biological level, learning is nothing more than neuroplasticity, the brain's physical ability to modify its connections in response to experience. However, neuroplasticity is not automatic. It requires specific neurochemical triggers. When you make a mistake or experience frustration during a learning task, your brain releases norepinephrine and acetylcholine. These chemicals heighten your visual and visceral focus, signaling to your neural circuits, "Attention required. Current model is incorrect." Fast learners leverage error-driven learning. While slow learners feel discouraged by errors and pull back, fast learners treat mistakes as precise neurochemical signals to recalibrate. They shorten the feedback loop between making a mistake and correcting it. By failing faster in low-stakes environments, they trigger the exact neurochemical cocktail needed to physically rewire their brains. The single greatest differentiator of elite learners is a psychological trait known as metacognition, the ability to monitor and evaluate your own thinking processes in real time. Average learners focus entirely on what they are learning. Fast learners focus relentlessly on how they are learning. Metacognitive thinkers operate with an internal observer that constantly audits their cognitive load. Do I actually understand this mechanism, or am I relying on context clues? Is my energy dropping to a point where neural encoding is decaying? What is the bottleneck in this skill execution right now? By constantly adjusting their learning strategy, managing cognitive fatigue, and targeting their exact weak points rather than repeating what they already know, they maximize the return on every single minute of study. Speed learning isn't a gift you are born with, it is a system you execute. Here is how you apply the Sigma Intelligence Protocol to master any skill in half the time. Embrace high-friction output. Ditch passive reading and listening. Spend 70% of your time testing yourself, building projects, and explaining concepts, and only 30% consuming input. Leverage ultra-focus bouts. Neuroplasticity requires total, undivided attention. Work in hyperfocus 45 to 90-minute blocks with zero distractions, followed by total mental rest to allow memory consolidation. Deconstruct the skill architecture. Before diving into a new field, break it down into its core subskills. Identify the 20% of fundamental concepts that drive 80% of the practical results, and master those first. Faster learning is not about pushing your brain harder. It is about working in alignment with human neurobiology. When you shift from passive memorization to active retrieval, leverage error feedback, and build simple mental schemas, you turn your mind into an elite engine for rapid skill acquisition. What is one skill or subject you are currently trying to master? Let's discuss your strategy in the comments below. If this breakdown gave you a sharper edge for personal mastery, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to Sigma Intelligence for more strategic deep dives. Thanks for watching and stay sharp.